They didn't come to conquer us. They came to hunt us like animals, and on the seventh day, they won. The first attack lasted 11 minutes. That's all it took to erase New York from the map. No missiles. No invasion fleet hovering in the sky. Just a sound. A low, inhuman screech that tore through the night sky seconds before the creatures dropped from the clouds like falling stars. They weren't soldiers. They weren't machines. They were predators bioengineered by an alien intelligence for one purpose only: hunt anything that breathes human air. Within hours, cities across 6 continents went dark. Los Angeles, Tokyo, London, Cairo. One by one, the lights went out and the screaming stopped. There were no warnings, no broadcast, no time to prepare. By the 7th day, 98% of the human race was gone. The world's governments collapsed. The military scattered. Communication towers burned. Humanity, the so-called dominant species of Earth, had become prey in less than a week. But not everyone died quietly. Behind the crumbling remains of an old border checkpoint, a group of survivors found each other in the chaos. Not by design, but by desperation. There was Maya, a former combat medic who hadn't lost a patient in 3 years of war, but who now watched entire cities die in a single night. There was Elias, an engineer who once built skyscrapers, now building barricades out of scrap metal and broken dreams. And there was Noah, a soldier who'd seen war before, but never anything like this. Never something that hunted with the intelligence of a predator and the numbers of a swarm. They didn't know each other. They didn't trust each other. But they shared one truth. There was nowhere left to run. So they made a choice. Instead of running, they stayed. Instead of hiding, they built. Brick by brick, wall by wall, they turned a forgotten stretch of ruins into the last standing city on Earth. The creatures were unlike anything humanity had ever documented. Covered in blackened, armor-like skin that shimmered under moonlight, they moved on all fours but stood upright when they hunted, faster than any predator on Earth had ever evolved to be. Their eyes glowed a pale blue, always scanning, always calculating. Survivors quickly learned these weren't mindless beasts. They coordinated. They adapted. They remembered. And worse, they were learning how humans fought back. 3 months after the fall, the predators returned to what intelligence reports called Sector Zero, the last known concentration of human survivors. This time, they weren't hunting stragglers. They were hunting the city itself. Inside the walls, the survivors had grown. What started as a dozen frightened strangers had become nearly 3,000 people. Engineers, doctors, teachers, children, and soldiers, all working toward a single goal: survival. Elias had rigged the old power grid using salvaged solar panels. Maya trained new medics using nothing but pre-war textbooks and instinct. Noah organized what remained of military-grade weapons into makeshift defense units, teaching civilians how to fight back against something that shouldn't exist. But weapons weren't the city's greatest strength. Unity was. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity wasn't just surviving, it was preparing to fight back. Scouts reported movement at the tree line. Thermal readings picked up heat signatures moving in coordinated formation, something predators had never done before. This wasn't a hunt anymore. This was an assault. Sirens tore through the night as the first wave of creatures broke through the outer perimeter. Screams, gunfire, the unmistakable screech of predators closing in from every direction. Maya pulled the wounded into makeshift shelters as explosions lit up the sky. Elias fought to keep the power grid alive, knowing that if the lights went out, so did their only advantage. Noah led the front line, watching soldiers, civilians only months ago, stand their ground against monsters built to kill. For every predator they took down, 3 more emerged from the darkness. Felt hopeless, until the moment everything changed. A flare shot into the sky, the survivors' signal for reinforcements. And from the shadows of the ruined skyline, more humans emerged. Other pockets of survivors, other hidden cities answering the call. For the first time since the invasion, humanity wasn't fighting alone. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the predators retreated. Not defeated, but wounded. Confused. For the first time, They had encountered something they hadn't accounted for. Resistance. Maya stood at the city gates, blood-streaked but alive. Elias watched the power grid flicker back to full strength. Noah stared out at the horizon, knowing this was only the beginning, because somewhere beyond the ruins, in the heart of a dead continent, something far larger than the predators was watching. Something that had been waiting. Something that sent them here in the first place. This isn't a war for territory. It's a war for the right to exist. And humanity's last city has just fired the first shot. The war isn't over. It's just beginning.